Hey, what's going on? My name is Joel McCrae. I am coming to you to kind of talk through some of the tracks that I produce, but from the perspective of the theory behind the tracks, the theory that kind of keeps everything going. The overall perspective that I actually want to talk through is basically a book idea that I put together called Moving Melodies from Heart to Hands. Presented it for a do-it-yourself conference for CD Baby back in 2019, and I've been doing YouTube tracks online for a minute. So a number of people kind of know me for the theory and my theory background. But the overall concept that I want to talk about is looking at music from a perspective like grammar. And if we can understand the grammar behind the language as to how things work, we'll be better at communicating our own ideas. What I would think is a little bit cumbersome or overwhelming is trying to just learn a bunch of information without some type of association to sound. Just like when we learn to speak, or we teach our children to speak, or teach children in general how to speak, we do so with words and pictures. So there is an association between the phonetic sound or the sound of the word and the image that the word is describing. So if we're going to talk about furniture in a house, we're going to have the labels on the furniture, and you'll also have pictures of the furniture as well. If we want to talk about animals, we'll have the words, we'll have the images. A lot of times with theory, when I talk to people about theory, they don't necessarily like theory because the information is overwhelming, and a lot of the times the information is not associated with a sound. So I want to look at theory more from the perspective of grammar. And in that perspective, we want to talk about five things. We want to talk about scales, we want to talk about intervals, we want to talk about chords, chord progressions, and we want to also talk about the actual song. When I think of scales being from a grammar perspective like the alphabet. We cannot even begin to build words or communicate if we don't start with the language's alphabet. So the alphabet, in my opinion, for music is the actual scale. And we'll talk about the major scale starting out. And then from that scale, we'll move to intervals. And intervals are like the phonetics. What sounds can you create with the scale? And those intervals range from like do to re, do to mi, do to fa. Those intervals is just the distance between notes. So we use in a lot of times in music a number system. So if I were to play 1, 2, that's a second, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5. We'll get more into that, but that's the distance between notes. What do we do with that? We take those intervals or the phonetics of music and we build words that we call chords. And there are a number of types of chords, but it's very difficult to understand chords if we're only going to use ear and we're not going to understand intervals slash phonetics, or if we're not going to understand the scale slash the alphabet. So the more we understand the scale, the interval, then we can start building a number of chords, major chords, minor chords, dominant chords, diminished chords, augmented chords, altered dominant chords, fully diminished, half diminished. All of those are chords that can be derived from understanding intervals and ultimately understanding scales. Then we'll take those chords and we'll put them into our sentences or phrases that we call progressions. And once we understand a number of progressions, we put those progressions into a document we call a song. So a song is just a series of phrases, musical phrases that are derived from musical words we call chords, that are built from musical phonetics that we call intervals, that are derived from the musical alphabet that we call a scale. So just wanted to introduce the concept from basically the book Moving Melodies from Heart to Hands, and understanding the universal language behind composition or the composition of music. Just a document that I put together. And we're going to work our way through this document a little bit to give an overview. Then we'll start getting into more details as to how this all comes together. I've put a number of videos online in the past, but I believe it's going to be that much more effective if we can speak the same language. For example, I have a lot on my mind, but I do not speak Spanish. My mother does fluently, but I don't. That doesn't mean the fact that I don't speak Spanish doesn't mean I don't have anything to say. It just means it's going to be difficult for me to say it in Spanish. For those that may not understand theory, that does not mean you're not a musician. That does not mean that you don't have a lot of musical ideas. Sometimes it might be a little bit more difficult to express your ideas if we don't understand the language of music. And so what we're trying to do is just kind of break some of the barriers, remove some of the myths, or remove some of the mystery behind music to make it a little bit more efficient, effective to express your ideas, express your thoughts, and so forth. So as we move forward, send me some ideas of what the struggles may be, and then I am going to use this document that you can find on my website, joelmccrae.com, again, and you can download that and we can kind of talk through together how to break the mystery, the barriers of understanding music. All right, so this is an intro, and we'll kind of start digging into, in the next module, how scales work. Thank you, and I hope you're having an incredible day.